Is the Galaxy S23 FE too big? Well, it all depends. Some people have small hands, some people have big hands. Some people like small phones, some people like big phones. Me personally, I prefer a smaller phone because it is easier for one-handed use and it fits more for my lifestyle. I think I have a regular size hand. This is measured for demonstration's sake. So, hold from here to here, about 4 inches across, thumb size, about 2 inches. Not the most scientific, but that's just my hand. And when I use this phone, it feels pretty comfortable to hold like this. And the Galaxy S23 FE is a 6.4 inch phone. I think 6.2 or 6.1 is probably the most optimal size for me. This one is just slightly on the bigger side. But like I said, it's all personal preference, but I think it is a tad too big. And I have always loved the idea of big phones, even back in the days when everyone was using a smaller phone. I've always loved the idea of the Galaxy Note. And the original Note was 5.3 inches, believe it or not. Nowadays, the smallest flagship you can find is probably about 5.8 inches, and that is considered mini or small phones. Just let that sink in for a second. And back then, when the original Note came out, people were always making fun of it that it was too big, and now it kind of just became the norm. When the Note 5 came out, it was at about 5.7 inches, and I think that was fine. It's still comfortable. And it was all fun and games until the Note 10 came out. That's when they had two options, one at 6.3 inches and one at 6.8. And I think once we start crossing over that 6.3 inch and heading to the 6.8, closer to 7 inch, that is just getting way too big. So now I personally find Ultra phones just a little bit uncomfortable to hold with one hand, although it is nice to have a large screen. And before going into more detail, I just want to give a quick shout out to my partner Mint Mobile. Currently they offer 5G plans for as low as $15 a month for unlimited everything. You do have to buy 3 months upfront, but you can't really complain for $15 a month for unlimited internet, text, and calling. This offer is only good until the end of January, so make sure to check them out. Link in the description below. So just going back to the perfect smartphone size, at least for me, I prefer a 6.2 inch phone, if not lower. That is kind of the sweet spot for me. The Galaxy S20 is 6.2 inches. I actually wouldn't mind 6.1, 6, or I guess even smaller. I feel like once you hit 6.4 and above, kind of reach the point of no return, and it gets slightly uncomfortable for one-handed use, especially when typing is easy to have accidental touches because you're trying to reach across. I know you can activate one-handed mode on the keyboard, and even that can be challenging. Let me bring up my keyboard again. Depending on what keyboard you use, you still kind of have to dig around to find the one-handed mode. For example, I'm using the Swift keyboard, and in order to activate the one-handed mode, I gotta stretch all the way over here to hit that menu button. And then I gotta go in here, modes, one-handed mode. Okay, now I activate a one-handed mode. As you can see, time I do want to use it, like I said, first of all, I had to reach all the way over here, which is not a really easy thing to do for a one-handed gesture. But I guess if I was already using it with my right hand and I want to do that, maybe it'll be a little bit easier. I could just tap this, go to modes, activate one hand and start typing this way. Then that'll be fine. But if I was holding my left hand, that wouldn't be as intuitive. So first world problems, but maybe if they had the setting toggles in the middle, I think that would be more optimal. And I guess the other option you can do is actually activate one-handed mode. But I don't really like the idea of one-handed mode. First of all, I just don't even remember how to do it off the top of my head. One-handed mode, so you can go into setting, look for one-handed mode. I guess you can activate one-handed mode. Okay, so you can turn it on, one-handed mode. So you swipe in the center of the bottom edge of the screen. I guess that's my only option because I'm using the gestures. But if you were using the home navigation button at the bottom, then you can do that. But I feel like this gesture thing is always so hard to do. Swipe down in the center of the bottom edge of the screen. Swipe down in the center of the bottom edge of the screen. Okay. So I am on the home screen, swipe down bottom center. Swipe down bottom. Okay. So do one of these. On these. I don't know, maybe I'm just not good at it. I find it so hard to activate. Sometimes I can get it, sometimes I can't. But even this is kind of a risky maneuver because I have to position my phone all at the bottom and then do one of these. So the back of my phone is I'm just holding with 3 fingers. And I feel like this is kind of risky because I gotta hold my phone like this and do a swipe. And it's a little unstable and there's risk of me potentially dropping it. I would prefer to activate one-handed mode some other way, but this way I gotta put all the weight at the bottom and activate it. And it's just not very easy. And even in one-handed mode, you can see I can reach all these sections okay, but even this tiny tip up here, I still gotta shift my finger up just to pull down. I guess I can pull down my notification panel anywhere, but if I wanted to hit this settings button all the way on top, it's just tad out of reach, and I still gotta shift my hand up. So even with one-handed mode, it's still not truly one hand. I would prefer one-handed mode. I can just use everything without having to shift in my hand. Because if I have to shift my hand, then what's the point of me doing one-handed mode? I can just shift my hand. Yeah. So I don't really like one-handed mode because it's not very comfortable for me. And just the idea of shrinking the screen down, even though you have all the space, I mean, you still have to shift your fingers up around. I might as well just leave it as is. And that, I guess you can just get used to just moving your hand up and down. But this is always a risk. I guess if you use a case, that's fine. I personally prefer to use my phone without cases. So unfortunately, I gotta shift my hand up and down. Once again, first world problem, that I prefer an easier one-handed use phone that I don't need to shift my fingers around. Because the more shifting I do, there's higher chances that I'm gonna drop the phone. Alright guys, there you have it. So hope that answers your question. Once again, personal preference depends how big your hand is. You like big phones, you like small phones. I personally think it's a tad too big. But overall, it is still an excellent phone. It doesn't exceed anything. It does everything well or just okay. After spending 4 weeks with the phone, I still enjoy using it. I just wish it was a tad smaller. If you watch MKBHD's blind camera test, you can see that the Pixel phones are basically the top 3 just in terms of the most preferred photo by most of the people who vote. The OnePlus Open snuck in at number 4, and the Galaxy S23 is actually number 5. And the FE actually wasn't part of the test, but one thing I do want to point out that the main camera on the FE and the S23 is basically the same exact camera. So that tells me you can get the same exact photos, just like the regular Galaxy S23. The regular S23 does have a slightly better telephoto camera, but main camera-wise is basically the same thing. So just remember that you can get FE for $400 to $600. The S23, or I guess S24 is about to come out around the corner. That's going to cost $800 or more. So I think there's still a lot of value here with the FE, even though the S24 is coming out in a few days. And keep in mind, even when the S24 comes out, everyone loves a shiny new toy. You're going to hear a lot of titanium, AI, and all these buzzwords tossed out there to distract you and get you excited with all the marketing. But I think in general, most of these AI tools are cool in theory. It looks nice when they do the demonstration on stage, but when you use it on a day-to-day basis, it's not really that useful. The Pixel face swap thing doesn't really work that well for me. I tried it once or twice and never use it again. Magic Eraser never really works 100% the way you think. There's always weird blotches and additional work to be done, so I don't really use that either. And the list goes on. I expect Samsung to either replicate or do something similar to Pixel, just like all the apps. Any app that Google has, Samsung has a version of their own. So I think we might see something similar here. Maybe you might get a few extra new tricks here and there. But once again, they're just tricks. They're not something that's going to really change the way you use your phone. At least that's what I'm expecting. And I expect the S24 to feel exactly the same as the S23 on a day-to-day basis, which feels the same as the S22, the S21, the S20, the S23 FE. If you're just swiping around using basic apps, there's nothing that really pops out and screams, oh, you should get these brand new shiny phones. Because essentially, it's very iterative, small updates year after year. And the flagship S series is always going to cost twice as much. You're going to get a brand new chip. You probably get extra 4 hours of battery life, which is nice if you don't mind paying that extra few $100s. You can get a higher peak brightness, but essentially the Galaxy series is like the iPhone of Android. It's the same design every single year since the S21. There's some minor tweaks here and there. They add the camera housing module, they took it away. 10 years ago, they rounded the screen, made curved screen, and now they're going to flat screen. So it all comes in full circle. They give, they take. But let me know if you will be getting the Galaxy S24. I'm definitely going to be testing it out once I get my hands on it. And let me know if there's anything in particular you guys want me to cover, any questions that you have. Thank you for watching as always. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you guys in the next video.